Hey, hey, hey. Time for another Out of This World story from rSpace. Love may be blind, but fraud is hell of an eye-opener. Today on rSpace, some people don't just cheat, they bill you for it. Wife opened a credit card in my name to fund her affair. I filed for divorce and pressed charges. My wife, let's call her Robin, 29 female, and I, 31 male, had been married for 4 years. Our marriage wasn't perfect, but I tried my best to be a good husband for her. I know I must have made some mistakes, but there were no reason for me to expect what she ended up doing. The problem started when I discovered that my wife had opened a credit card in my name. I didn't know how she did it, but I didn't realize what was happening until about a week ago. But she'd been using the card for a little over 6 months. When I first saw the account in my credit report, I panicked. I thought some scammer had gotten my info. I called the credit card company right away to report it, and that's when I discovered the truth. I found out the mailing address was my house, but the email and phone number didn't match mine. I dug deeper. I took a look at the statements and saw hotel rooms, fancy restaurants, and Uber charges. Someone was having a lot of fun at my expense. I didn't think to suspect my wife at first. It was only after making a closer look at the dates that I realized that the charges lined up with my wife's trip to meet her sister out of town. I wanted to think it was all a coincidence, but that would explain everything. There was a worse implication in there too. Apart from stealing my identity, it would mean she had lied to me. She told me that she would be staying at her sister's house, not a hotel. The hotel on the card wasn't even in the same town where her sister lived. If the card was really taken out by Robin, then that meant that she was cheating on me. I sat there looking at the date on her trip on my calendar and comparing it to the dates on the card statement. I couldn't find anything that could disprove my theory. Even the smaller day-to-day purchases matched up with her spending habits. Some mornings, there was a purchase at her favorite coffee shop, and occasionally the card was used at the same place she got lunch on her break. It all lined up too closely. The first thing I did was call the credit card company to report the fraud. I wanted the card frozen, and I had my credit frozen as well to prevent other cards from being opened in my name. My credit hadn't taken a hit because Robin had been making the minimum payments on the card. I might have been appreciative of that, if not for the fact that she had already racked up close to 10 grand in debt. It wasn't enough to ruin me, but I definitely had no plans to end up bearing the burden of that. I was shocked that she had done it over a few months, and I could only imagine how much worse it would have gotten if I hadn't caught it in time. I brought it up the evening when we were both home. By then, I'd had a few hours to go over all the evidence, and I was more certain that it had to be her. But I didn't accuse her outright. I just informed her that I discovered that a card had been taken out in my name. She did a good job of acting shocked. She put on a wide-eyed expression and went on about how scary it was that someone had stolen my identity. If I hadn't suspected her, I probably wouldn't have noticed that she was laying it on just a little too thick. I still didn't accuse her though. I told her I'd frozen the card and put a fraud alert on my file. Then I told her I was going to contact the police the next morning. She went completely silent and just nodded. She looked like she was staring down a ghost. I waited for her to say something, but she just kept staring into the distance, probably coming to terms with how serious this was. If I called the police, she'd be in some real trouble, but telling me not to call the police would be as good as admitting the truth to me. After her silence dragged on a bit too long, I made things easy for her. I asked if she had something she wanted to tell me. She was quiet for a bit longer and couldn't meet my eyes. Eventually, she admitted that she'd taken out the card because hers was maxed out. She tried to spin it as something temporary, claiming that she just needed it to help her make it to payday. But then, that didn't match up with the card statement. I showed her the hotel charges, the restaurants, and the Ubers. I asked her to explain them and tell me what she was doing there when she claimed to be out of town visiting her sister. At first, she denied having any knowledge of those charges. I got angry and sarcastically asked if she was trying to tell me someone had stolen her credit card. I snapped at her to admit the truth, and she flinched. I've never raised my voice at her, and that shocked her so much that she broke down crying. She kept me repeating, "Please don't hate me," and "I'm sorry." I could already feel my heart sinking. She admitted that she'd been seeing someone else. She said it wasn't serious. It was a stupid fling that she'd fallen into, and she tried to end things multiple times. She finally looked me in the eyes and swore multiple times that she didn't love him, and she still wanted to be with me. She said it was important that I understood that. I was completely speechless. I just watched her sobbing and wiping her eyes with her sleeve while my mind was racing. I didn't feel bad for her. At that moment, I actually hated her. She defrauded me so she could have an affair. It was a level of backstabbing that I never thought was possible from her. When I got my thoughts together, I let her know how I felt. When I looked at her, I just saw someone who tried to steal from me so she could run out on me. If that was what she called love, then I wanted no part of it. She seemed to get where I was heading, and she grabbed my hand. She started repeating, "Wait, just listen." I pulled my hand away from her and told her there was no talking her way out of it. I was going to do what I could to separate myself from her debt. Then I told her that I wasn't going to do anything to protect her from the consequences. That was when she really got scared. She asked if I was going to really call the police, and I just nodded. She went pale and grabbed my arm again, begging me to change my mind. She said we could work it out privately. I don't know if there was supposed to be some sort of innuendo there, but I didn't want to find out. I told her I wasn't about to eat 10 grand in debt just to shield her from the consequences. She didn't deserve anything from me after what she'd done. She started bargaining, saying she'd pay it back and that she'd cut things off with the other guy for good. I told her it was all too late for that now. I couldn't just overlook fraud and her affair. There was no coming back from that. That night, I slept in the guest room with the door locked. I don't think I got up to an hour of sleep altogether. I wasn't scared that she'd try something stupid, but I didn't want to rule out the possibility either. Clearly, she wasn't who I thought she was, and people do stupid things when they're desperate. The next day, I left the house as soon as I could. I'd already packed my things the night before and called my brother to ask if I could stay with him for a few nights. After that, I contacted the police just like I said I would. I filed a report and handed over all the relevant evidence. After that, I called a lawyer. He got started on the paperwork and emphasized how important it was for me to separate myself and my finances from hers. 10 grand was bad enough, but there was no telling what other debt she might have accumulated that she might want to make me responsible for. The divorce papers were just drawn up today, and I'm expecting a call soon to let me know that she's been served. I know this whole incident is far from over, but I'm getting a sense of finality just from knowing the divorce is about to become real. For the first time since the whole thing started, I feel like I can finally think straight. Edit. She's been served with papers, which is great, because it means that I'm about to start the next phase of my life, which is getting divorced. I don't feel too bad about it right now because I want to be done with her, and this will give me that. When I can, I should be able to write another update to let you all know how things are going for me. Update 1. Before I get back into the updates for my situation, I just wanted to thank everyone here for making me feel sane through one of the most stressful periods of my life. Almost everyone I know has been telling me that I'm overreacting for calling the police. My brother's firmly on my side, and my parents understand my decision, though my mom feels we can settle things without involving the police. The real problem came from her family and our mutual friends. They've been making me out as a villain for my decision. Some of them even fabricated some story about how she probably did it because I was financially controlling. To be clear, I was never financially controlling. We split bills evenly, and she always had her own account and credit cards. She worked a good job and was in full control of her own finances. The only thing I ever asked was that we save together for some long-term goals, in an account that we both had access to. But now some so-called friends were acting like I drove her to commit fraud and cheat. Her family has been the worst. Her sister called me, screaming, saying I was ruining Robin's life over a mistake. I said I thought she'd be more understanding considering her sister had been using her as a cover for her affair. She said she could forgive her for that because that's what you do when you actually love someone. I told her that my definition of love didn't involve letting people walk all over you. She had a lot more to say, but very little of it actually made sense to me. Her dad passed away a few years ago, but her mom texted me a long message begging me to forgive Robin. She was less combative than Robin's sister, but she was still taking her side and not admitting to her fault. She said marriages go through ups and downs, and the only way to make it through is to work together. I ignored it. If ups and downs meant fraud and infidelity, then I wasn't interested. On the other hand, the police took my report very seriously. They confirmed that what Robin did was identity theft, regardless of whether we're married or not. They've taken statements from me, and they've questioned her. Currently, she's facing charges for identity theft, credit card fraud, and theft. My lawyer told me that jail time is in the cards for her, but there's a chance she'll just face fines since she's a first offender. That and the law goes easier on women sometimes. Robin wasn't done trying to convince me to change my mind. Some days, she would send long-winded, angry texts accusing me of trying to ruin her and demanding that I drop the charges. On other days, she was apologetic, begging me to reconsider the divorce. It didn't matter what mood she was in because the end goal was always the same. She was trying to manipulate me into letting her off the hook. She has no idea what's coming. I tried to be a good husband to her, and she took advantage of me. What's the point of trying to do your best as a man when a woman will use the first opportunity they get to take you out for a fool? I hate how it feels, and it makes me even more committed. There's no way I'm backing down now. Update 2. It's now official. Robin is no longer my wife. I didn't realize how much that would feel like a weight off my shoulders. I'm finally closing the door on a part of my life that quickly turned into a nightmare. More importantly, her debt no longer has any way of dragging me down. Sweet freedom. It turned out that the identity theft worked out in my favor with the divorce. Not only was I not responsible for the debt she racked up, but I didn't even have to pay spousal support. That felt like the biggest win of all. As for her criminal case, that's finally over too. After dragging her feet for months, Robin finally took the plea deal. When it was just the two of us, she had all the excuses in the world, but in front of the law, she understood that she didn't really have a leg to stand on. Or maybe it was her lawyer who finally convinced her that she never stood a chance in trial. Her deal meant she avoided jail, but she was going to be on probation for a while. On top of that, she was ordered to pay restitution, meaning she'll have to pay back every dime of what she stole. The big one is that she has a felony on her record now. Now she's made her life a whole lot harder, and all because she wanted to fund her little affair. I can't wait to see her struggle to get any job that involves dealing with company money. Then, there are still a few people who blame me for ruining her life. I don't bother defending myself to them. I just ask them if I was supposed to sit on my hands and eat several grand in debt that she racked up while cheating on me. That usually shuts them up. Either way, they get blocked after that. I've weeded out a lot of fake friends, and that honestly might also be one of the hardest parts of this whole thing. It's difficult learning who really has your back, but I know it's good for me in the long run. I might as well cut those people out of my life now. Robin's family was on another level. They called and texted me so much that I had to threaten to get the police involved and report them for harassment. Her sister replied to that with, "Yeah, the cops seem to be your answer to everything." I replied, "Yep, ask your sister how that works out." It was a childish comment, probably, but it sure felt satisfying. Robin reached out to me once more after the divorce was finalized. There was no begging this time. I guess that was because she knew that there was no point. We weren't married anymore, and she had taken the plea deal already. It was already over for her. She sent a text asking if we could talk. I was curious at first and eventually decided to just hear her out. I knew there wasn't anything useful she could tell me, but my curiosity won out. I just really wanted to know what was so important that she decided to reach out. She said she wanted to meet me in a public place, like a coffee shop, but I shut that down. I told her that I wasn't going anywhere with her. We weren't married anymore. We weren't even friends. She was my cheating ex, and I was already doing her a bigger favor than she deserved by sitting around and texting her. She agreed to keep our conversation in a text message. It turned out that she just wanted to make me feel bad for her. It's funny that she thought that would work on me. She gave me a sob story of everything that had happened to her since we got divorced. For starters, it turned out that despite her sister's passionate defense of Robin's actions, she really didn't appreciate being used as her cover story. Robin told me her sister wouldn't talk to her unless their mom made her. Her relationship with her mom wasn't much better either. She'd come to her daughter's defense and asked me to take her back, but she wasn't so keen on having her around now that Robin was a felon. That seemed to hurt her even more than the friction with her sister. I understood how much it would hurt for your own mom to not want you around, but I couldn't sympathize with her. That was completely her own fault. But she wasn't done listing off things to blame me for. She'd lost her job because of her criminal case, and now she was finding it hard to get a new job. I joked that it was just the bad job market. She didn't find that funny, of course. The truth was that she was going to struggle to find a good job because of her criminal record. She ended her pity party by asking why I couldn't just keep it between us. She said her life fell apart the moment I filed the police report against her. I didn't take the bait and reminded her that the turning point in her life was when she decided to commit fraud to keep her affair going. I couldn't be blamed for anything that happened after that. As far as I'm concerned, she got off light. She didn't have to spend any time in jail. Sure, she has the permanent mark on her record, and that's going to make it hard for her to get a job, rent an apartment, or even take a loan. It's like she's been marked as untrustworthy, which is more than fair to me. That was her real punishment in all of this. I didn't bother reading any of her messages after that. She hadn't learned a single thing from all of this, so there was nothing for us to talk about. I blocked her number for good, and I haven't heard from her since then. The weird thing about all of this is that I'm not even angry anymore. My credit is clean, I'm not on the hook for a debt that isn't mine, and I got rid of a cheating wife without having to pay any alimony. I even cut off the fake friends who tried to guilt me for not protecting her. I'm choosing to focus on all the positives that came out of the experience, and life feels better for it. Getting rid of a cheating spouse is a harder decision than it looks like it should be, but I promise that it is worth it. The "someone stole your identity" act? Classic. But she called it out immediately. She probably thought she could charm her way out of it, but she didn't even blink. And then she tries the whole, "it's just a fling" excuse. Really? That's her defense for racking up 10 grand in your name while betraying you? Wow. Her family piling on like, you're the bad guy? Please. They can keep talking. You know the truth. She's the one who screwed up. She's the one with a felony now. She's the one paying back every dime. Honestly, the universe did you a solid here. If you found out your spouse not only cheated on you, but also stole your identity to fund it, what would you do? Share your thoughts below. And thank you for joining us today on rSpace. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time.